A stable ecosystem relies on a quiet, predictable hum of activity. When a massive storm shatters the landscape in seconds, that predictability vanishes, scattering the forest's inhabitants into total chaos. Natural survival is tied to pre-existing support networks. Without these structures, the mathematical probability of an individual surviving a major displacement is staggeringly low. For Golu, a cautious goat, and Milo, an energetic monkey, the aftermath of the storm is a world of absolute, eerie silence. They are alone, separated from the safety of their families. This is the state of displacement. It is a moment of extreme physical and psychological vulnerability that occurs the second a foundational safety net disappears. In this vacuum, the paralyzing inability to adapt to sudden isolation poses a threat as immediate as the environment itself. As the two strangers meet in the fog, they approach with caution. Both are stripped of their usual defenses, and both see that same vulnerability reflected in the other. This illustrates the mechanic of spontaneous organization. In an empty void, isolated nodes must decide in real time whether to compete for resources or begin a connection to push back a shrinking threat perimeter. Milo and Golu's decision to collaborate serves as a survival strategy, merging their efforts into a single node with a reinforced boundary. This connection expands their defensive footprint and increases their area of control. The group grows as they encounter Hazel, a resourceful squirrel, and Rook, an observant raven. Integrating a ground-level scavenger and an aerial scout introduces critical new variables into their survival equation. This fragile organization marks the transition from being passive victims of the storm to becoming an active, functioning microsociety. The newly formed alliance soon meets its first physical barrier, a wide, rushing river that cuts off their path through the forest. Any community requires a proof of concept. In the wild, theoretical alliances remain unproven until they are tested by a tangible challenge. Milo begins constructing a bridge from vines and branches. To succeed, the group must pool their mechanical skills, combining Milo's climbing with Hazel's foraging and Golu's physical weight. Golu hesitates at the water's edge. For a cautious animal, crossing this bridge requires a significant psychological shift, trusting his personal safety to the collective work of strangers. He makes the crossing, and the structure holds. This successful outcome to a shared risk creates a social bond, grounding their alliance in a shared history of success. Trust out here functions as a mechanical output. It is built incrementally, produced through verifiable actions and the successful navigation of risk. In a quiet clearing, they meet Bruno, an old bison who has survived decades of forest shifts. He represents the stabilizing presence of historical wisdom. Bruno suggests that crisis serves a specific purpose. It forces the revelation of collective capacities that usually remain hidden during times of peace. That theory is tested immediately. Shadow, a mountain lion, emerges from the dense brush. As a singular apex threat, he represents the ultimate stress test for the group's newly established trust. The mechanics of the chase reveal their efficiency. On this map, colored dots move in coordinated patterns. Rook alerts, Hazel uses cover, and Milo distracts the predator. Synchronizing movements, they funnel the lion into a hazard zone, neutralizing his advantage. While a lone individual would be overmatched, a collective system of optimized diversity can outmaneuver a singular brute force threat. As the adrenaline fades, a heavy silence returns to the forest. The group rests, realizing they have just navigated a threat that should have been fatal. Rook observes that despite having the wings to fly away the moment the lion appeared, he stayed to provide the warning. In a moment of crisis, his commitment to the group's survival took priority over his own immediate safety. The group eventually reaches a familiar clearing, reuniting with their original families. They return to the traditional support structures they lost during the storm. They return with a proven resilience. They have moved through the shock of displacement and emerged with a demonstrated capacity for survival that most never have to discover. We often define strength through individual traits like speed or power, but social technology, the act of sharing trust and pooling capabilities, provides the ultimate hedge against an unpredictable world. True strength is shared.